The laughter didn't start loud. It crept in like a stain, spreading from one table to another, sharp and careless, the kind that cuts deeper because it pretends to be harmless. A woman in a red dress lay on the cold marble floor of a luxury restaurant, her handbag spilled beside her, her face flushed with shock and pain, while well-dressed strangers watched as if the moment were a form of entertainment. In a room filled with crystal lights and expensive silence, humiliation echoed louder than any sound. Before the story goes any further, pause here for a second. If you believe kindness still matters in a world that often laughs first and helps last, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Ripple of Kindness for stories about compassion, second chances, and quiet heroes. The waiter was the only one who moved. He was tall but slightly slouched, exhaustion carved into his posture, his black vest worn from too many double shifts. His name was Daniel, though no one there knew it or cared. To them he was just a waiter, a background figure meant to glide silently between tables. A single father, he carried the weight of unpaid bills, a sick daughter at home, and a life that had never once paused to ask if he was okay. When he saw the woman fall, something older than fear pushed him forward. He didn't think about the laughter, the phones lifting, or the whispers curling through the room. He only saw a human being on the floor, struggling to rise while dignity slipped away piece by piece. The woman's body trembled as she tried to push herself up, her arms shaking under the strain. Her face wasn't just red from the fall, it burned with the familiar pain of being judged, measured, and dismissed. She had known this look all her life, the look people give when they decide your worth before hearing your story. Some diners smirked, others turned away pretending not to see, and a few watched with thinly veiled amusement. No one stood. No one offered a hand, except Daniel. He knelt beside her without hesitation, his polished shoes pressing into the marble as if the floor itself were asking him to remember his place. He reached out slowly, respectfully, not as a rescuer seeking praise, but as someone who understood what it meant to be invisible. The room seemed to hold its breath, not out of concern, but curiosity. Why would a waiter risk attention for someone everyone else had already written off? Helping her up wasn't easy. Her weight made the movement slow, awkward, and painfully public. A few laughs sharpened. Someone muttered something cruel. Daniel's arms strained, his back protesting, but he didn't let go. In that moment, his mind wasn't on the stairs or the manager watching from a distance. It was on his daughter, on the nights she cried because kids at school laughed at her worn shoes, on the promise he made to himself never to be like the people who looked away. When the woman finally stood, unsteady but upright, the applause didn't come. Instead, there was an uncomfortable silence, thick with judgment. She brushed dust from her dress with trembling fingers, her eyes glossy, not with tears but with something harder to swallow, the ache of being humiliated in public. She thanked Daniel quietly, her voice barely holding together, and reached for her bag as if it were armor. What no one in that room knew was that the woman they laughed at was the CEO of a multinational firm, a woman who had built empires from late nights and relentless discipline. Wealth had given her power in boardrooms, but it hadn't protected her from cruelty in ordinary places. She had come to this restaurant alone, hopping to enjoy a rare moment of normalcy, to be unseen and unmeasured. Instead, she was reminded that success doesn't erase prejudice, and money doesn't soften mockery. Daniel returned to his duties, his face calm but his heart racing. He expected reprimand, maybe even dismissal. In his world, kindness often came with consequences. The manager pulled him aside, eyes cold, voice low, reminding him of professional boundaries and embarrassing scenes. Daniel nodded, already calculating how he'd explain another job lost to his daughter. He didn't regret helping. He only feared what it would cost. Minutes later, the atmosphere shifted. The woman stood near the entrance, speaking to the manager now, her posture transformed. Her voice was steady, her presence commanding. The same diners who laughed leaned in, curious, uneasy. Phones went down. Smiles faded. She wasn't angry, but she was unmistakably powerful. She spoke about dignity, about how moments reveal character more than titles ever could. She spoke about a waiter who chose humanity over comfort, and a room full of people who chose laughter over compassion. Then she revealed who she was. The silence that followed was deafening, faces drained of color. The laughter that had seemed so bold minutes earlier now felt small, cowardly. The manager's tone changed instantly, apologies spilling out too fast to be sincere. Daniel stood frozen, confused, unaware that his life was about to bend in a direction he never imagined. The woman asked for Daniel by name. When he stepped forward, the room watched differently now. She didn't praise him loudly or theatrically. She looked at him with something far rarer, respect. She spoke of opportunity, of character, of how companies are built not just on intelligence but on values. She offered him a chance not as charity but as recognition, a position, stability, a future where his daughter wouldn't have to learn resilience so young. Daniel's hands shook as he listened. He wasn't thinking about money or status. He was thinking about how one simple act, one instinctive decision to help someone on the floor, had cracked open a door he didn't even know existed. Around them, the diners avoided eye contact, trapped in their own shame. As the woman left the restaurant, heads turned not in mockery but in awe. The red dress that had drawn laughter now carried quiet authority. Daniel returned home that night and held his daughter a little tighter, telling her that kindness matters, even when the world laughs. If this story stirred something in you, if it reminded you of the power hidden in small human choices, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your engagement helps these stories reach hearts that need them most. And before this story ends, I ask you one more thing. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you think. Because somewhere right now, someone is on the floor, metaphorically or otherwise, waiting to see who will laugh and who will reach